bags, and fill them with tea. These can be put into your teapot, and when the tea is strong enough can be removed, in that way keeping the tea fresh during a long period of time. It is also possible to make a very thick tea syrup by pouring a small quantity of boiling water over a large quantity of tea, and after it has stood for 3 minutes, pouring it off into a teapot. This will keep for a day and can be diluted with hot water whenever a cup of tea is wanted. Put a small quantity in the cup and pour as much hot water over it as is needed. This water does not need to be boiling, only hot, as the tea itself was made with boiling water. How to make 1 cup of cocoa. 1 teaspoonful cocoa, 1 tablespoonful boiling water, half a pint of milk, 1 teaspoonful granulated sugar, tablespoon, measuring cup, saucepan. Take a teaspoonful of cocoa and put it in a tin cup. Add 1 teaspoonful of granulated sugar and 1 tablespoonful boiling water from the kettle. Mix it well, so that there will not be any lumps of cocoa. Pour a little less than half a pint of milk into a saucepan and cook it, stirring all the time until it is scalded, that is, until a film forms on it and it just begins to bubble. Stir the cocoa mixture into this and cook it until it boils up. It burns very easily, so stir it carefully. Pour into a large cup and serve. To keep the cup from cracking, put a teaspoon in it before you pour in the hot cocoa. Candy rule. When you make candy, no matter what's in it, watch it with care, for it spoils in a minute. Poppity corn. Ears of popcorn, a little oil or butter or lard, deep saucepan with cover. Ordinary popcorn is made with a corn popper. Poppity corn is made in a deep covered dish on the stove, and is much fluffier and lighter. The most important thing is to have fresh popcorn. Old corn is hard and small after it is popped. It is always best to get popcorn on the ear and shell it yourself. Take the deep saucepan and put 2 or 3 tablespoonfuls of salad oil or butter or lard in it, and a half teaspoonful of salt. The bottom should be barely covered. Put the dish on a hot part of the stove, and when the oil is very hot indeed, throw in a handful of popcorn and put the cover on. While the corn is popping, you may shake the dish a little, but it does not need to be shaken hard. When the corn is all popped, the oil will be gone, and you can empty the corn onto a plate. A bowl of popcorn and milk is very good. A bowl of popcorn with a little melted butter stirred into it is a dish that many people like. Popcorn balls. Have a bowl of popped corn all ready. Put in a saucepan half a cupful of granulated sugar and 4 tablespoonfuls of water, and place on a hot part of the stove. Boil this until you have a thick syrup that will be hard when tested in cold water. Put the pan at the back of the stove where the syrup will keep hot but not boil any more. Pick up pieces of popcorn one by one and dip them into the syrup and stick them together, adding more and more of them until you have made a ball. Let these harden in a cold place. Popcorn patties. Boil together 1 cup of sugar and a half cupful of molasses until it is thick and waxy when a few drops are tested in cold water. Stir into this a quart of popped corn. Have ready a cold buttered plate. Spoon up heaping spoonfuls of the mixture and drop them in little patties onto the plate. Set in a cold place to harden. Candied orange peel. Peel of 6 oranges. 2 1/2 cups granulated sugar. Water. 1 teaspoonful salt. Bowl, saucepan, spoon, fork, sharp knife. Put about 1 quart of cold water into a bowl and add to it 1 teaspoonful of salt. Keep the bowl of water in a cold place and put into it orange peelings as you get them. It is all right to use what is left from the table. Scrape off all of the pulp and most of the inner white skin with a sharp knife. Leave the peel in the salt water for a few days, adding more peel. When you have the peel from about 6 oranges, Pour off the salt water and wash the peel with fresh water so that any salt taste may be washed away. Cut the peel into short, narrow strips, about 2 or 3 inches long and as wide as your little finger. Put the peel into a saucepan and pour over it 1 quart of cold water. Set the saucepan on a hot part of the stove and cook the peel until it is soft. This may take an hour or more. Try it with a fork to see if it is done, and when it is, take the pan from the stove. Add to the water and peel about 1 pint more cold water, or enough to have a quart of water altogether, with what is left in the saucepan, and put 2 cups of granulated sugar in with it. Set the pan on the stove again and let the water and sugar cook until the water has nearly boiled away, leaving the peel covered with a thick syrup. This will take some time. Take the pan off the stove. Put some granulated sugar on a plate and drop the orange peel, piece by piece, into the sugar and roll it with a fork so that it will be well coated. When the peel is cold, it is ready to eat. Rainy Day Fudge. 2 cups granulated sugar, 1 cup milk, butter, teaspoonful vanilla, 1/4 pound chocolate or 4 heaping tablespoons cocoa, measuring cup, chafing dish or saucepan, knife, stirring spoon, teaspoon, glass of cold water, greased paper or pan. Measure 2 cups of granulated sugar and put it in a saucepan with 1 cup of milk. Add a lump of butter about the size of a lump of sugar. Put the pan on a hot part of the stove, and while the milk is heating, cut up 1/4 pound of chocolate into little pieces. If you use cocoa, put 4 heaping tablespoonfuls right in with the milk, without waiting. Chocolate and cocoa must both be unsweetened. When the milk and sugar in the pan begin to get smoking hot, add your chocolate. Cook for 15 or 20 minutes, stirring all the time. Be sure that the pan is on a hot part of the stove, and that you stir it well so that it will not burn. When you think it's done, try it and see. Dip a little out with a teaspoon and drop it in a glass of cold water. If it gets thick and stiff, you may be sure the rest is done. Take the pan off the stove, add 1 teaspoonful of vanilla extract, and beat it together with a spoon for 3 minutes. Take your greased paper and lay it on a plate, or better still, take the baking tin which you have smeared with butter, and pour over it the hot fudge. Leave the fudge in a cold place to harden. When it is perfectly firm, cut it into squares with a sharp knife. It should be about 1/2 inch thick, so do not try to fill too large a pan. It is not always necessary to cook fudge for 20 minutes, so it is just as well to try it after 10 or 15 minutes. This recipe makes nearly 1 pound of candy. Molasses candy. 1 cupful molasses, 1 cupful brown sugar, 1 tablespoonful vinegar, 2 tablespoonfuls butter, measuring cup, tablespoon, saucepan, pans, glass or cup. Take a large saucepan and put into it 1 cupful of molasses, 1 cupful of brown sugar, 1 tablespoonful of vinegar, and 2 tablespoonfuls of butter. Set the saucepan on a hot part of the stove, and when the mixture boils, look at the clock, and let it boil for about 15 minutes. Test a spoonful of it in a glass of cold water. If the mixture becomes hard and breakable at once, it is done. It should be much harder than the peppermint syrup. Rub a shallow baking tin with butter, and into this pour the mixture at once. Put the pan in a cool place. As soon as the mixture is cold enough to touch without burning your fingers, spoon out pieces as big as your fist, and have each person take one of the pieces. Pull it apart with your 2 hands, and twist it and pull it until it gets a nice light yellow and is so stiff that you can't pull it any more. Twist it into long, thin ropes, and let them get entirely hard on buttered plates in the ice chest. Then break into short pieces for eating. This makes enough for 4 children to pull. It is very important to have your hands clean before you begin pulling the candy. Peppermint drops for 2 children to make. 2 cupfuls sugar, 1 cupful water, 1 teaspoonful extract of peppermint, measuring cup, saucepan.